Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the January 3rd Kitty Hawk Town Council meeting to order, 6 o'clock p.m. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Council, I need a motion to approve tonight's agenda, please.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Motion made by Dylan, second.
Second.
Second by Charlotte. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. Thank you. First up, we have a presentation from Ms. Donna Freed of the Dare County Housing Task Force. Come on up, Donna. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm here tonight with my vice chair of the task force, Mr. Malcolm Fearing. I serve as the Government Affairs Director for the Advocates Association of Realtors, and I am the Realtor member of the Community Task Force. Mayor Garrish, you're on the task force. Melvin, you're on the task force. Steve and Duke, you guys heard this presentation today already, so you're going to have to sit through it today. We were at the Board of Commissioners meeting this morning. I tweaked it a little bit so it's specific to Kitty Hawk, but again, thank you for having us this evening, and we are here to talk about the 2024 report that the Community Housing Task Force put together in December. It's entitled Housing for Now and Future Generations. It was adopted by unanimous vote on December the 16th, and it summarizes all of the work that the task force did in 2024, all the work that the task force did, as well as the 3 subcommittees that we have. It presents statistical information to demonstrate the market conditions and the housing situation here in Dare County. It makes conclusions and sets tasks and priorities for 2025, and I've got the website address up there where it's, you can find it on the Dare County webpage for those of you who haven't had a chance to look at it. First off, I want to talk about the exciting news that we had. Back in October, the task force was notified about a program that the North Carolina, the UNC School of Government puts forth. It's Carolina Across 100, and this year they're studying housing in North Carolina, and they had an application process, and we were like, oh, okay, well, we'll go ahead and submit an application. We're probably not going to get approved because it was a highly competitive process, but lo and behold, we did. So we are one of 14 teams that were selected out of, I think, 87 different organizations that submitted an application. It's an 18-month program. We'll be doing in-person meetings there at the School of Government as well as virtual ones during the month. We had to appoint a core team of our task force, and so that's Mr. Fearing and myself, Andy Garman from the town of Nags Head, Matt Neal from the town of Southern Shores, and Anthony Fletcher, who is a businessman down on Hatteras Island. We're hoping to use this report that the task force has compiled as our action plan for that program. The really great thing about that participation is our travel expenses are going to be covered by the School of Government, and we're going to get $10,000 to do a pilot program. I don't know what that will entail, but you know, it's free money. And so it's no cost to Dare County, it's no cost to Kitty Hawk or any of the other folks that sit on that task force. What influences housing? Housing is a very complicated issue. It's guided by the North Carolina Constitution as well as the general statutes. It restricts on how local governments can spend public funds on housing, and even internal to those regulations, there's different regulations for the counties versus the towns involving referendums and whatnot. There's also enabling legislation, and we do have enabling legislation that was used to build the teacher housing in Buxton and Kill Devil Hills, so that's an example of that. We're also influenced by our geography. We're an island, and so clearly we can't experience spatially, but so far we have a large presence of public lands in Dare County. 80% of our land is owned by public agency. Land use regulations shape housing, development costs, and community attitudes. The report focuses on 4 components of housing. We're very particular. We try not to use the word affordable or essential or workforce. I just say it's housing. We have a housing issue. It needs to be available. It needs to be attainable, it needs to be sustainable, and it needs to be acceptable. And so available housing, there needs to be, a housing inventory, there needs to be land for housing, it needs to be set aside for long-term occupancy, and it needs to be set aside in perpetuity. It needs to be attainable, meaning that it needs to be, our residents don't need to be cost burdened. The metric for housing is 30%. You shouldn't be paying more than 30% of your household income on your mortgage, your taxes, and your insurance or your rent. It needs to be sustainable. Once you get in that house, you need to be able to afford to stay there. Insurance is going up. We just got that news a couple of weeks ago that our homeowners insurance is going to go up again. We need to build our houses so that they meet the natural hazards that we have to deal with here in Dare County. And it has to be acceptable. It has to be consistent with the local zoning regulations, and it has to be of a scale and aesthetics that meets the existing neighborhoods. Some of the reports that are in, some of the statistics that are in the report, you'll see here I have a housing price from 2003 of $325,000. In 2020, that had jumped up to $500,000, so that's a 17% increase. Now, from 2020 to 2024, it went up 63%, so we jumped from $381,000 to $622,000. So that's the median sales price in Dare County. All of Dare County is $622,000, and those numbers are coming from reports that I pulled from the Outer Banks Association of Realtors. The median household income for Dare County is right at $80,000, and this is a number from 2022. And so when you apply that 30% metric, it's almost $24,000 that you should be spending on housing. Some of the information that we found in our research is that 31% of the households in Dare County are considered cost burden, or they're paying more than that 30% of their household income for housing. Okay, let me get this right here. Okay, so we have a lot of houses here in Dare County. Everybody knows that. It's not that we don't have houses here. We have almost 35,000 houses here in Dare County, but a lot of them are used as vacation rentals or second homes. You'll see the numbers there in turquoise are the total numbers for each geographic region. The blue number is what's considered vacant, and then the yellow number is what's considered the occupied numbers. And so you can see how they vary depending on what the geography is. And what the year-round population is. Kill Devil Hills has a mix that's very almost 50-50. Kitty Hawk is almost 50-50. Nags Head is is a little bit more, and here at the end you have Duck, where they have very few full-time residents there. Housing and tenure, short-term rentals. I've talked to you guys about short-term rentals before. A lot of people say to me, Donna, you gotta do something about those Airbnbs, and I'm like, well, that's easier said than done. What we found in our research is that, yes, what we all know is that they have impacted the long-term, rental market. Some property owners use that income from their short-term rentals to pay their mortgage, but local governments don't have the authority, that enabling legislation that I talked about earlier. They don't have the enabling legislation to offer tax incentives or tax breaks so that those folks would choose to use those houses for long-term rental versus short-term rentals. There's also case law. There's a case that was down in Wilmington, the city of Wilmington, that sets guidelines for how local governments can regulate short-term rentals. So it's not just a matter of saying, okay, we want to do this and enact it. You have to have the enabling ability to do that. And some of the other researches is that we've talked to property managers, and what they tell us is that the trend is for some of these short-term rentals to transition back to long-term rentals. This is just, again, a slide that breaks down the geographic or the numbers by years, and it shows the individual percentages over the course of the years. You can see that there's modest increases over the years, and then in 21 and 2022 it takes a big jump, 21%, and then a 23% jump there, and then it jumps back down to a 5% and a 3%, but it's still a significant number there, $622,000. This breaks down the median sales price by geography so that it's just not that one group number. You'll see that, again, Duck, with the large number of vacation rentals they have there, they're the highest. Cowlington is the lowest. And you'll see how it's broken down in there. The areas that have the oceanfront homes seem to have higher median sales prices there. So I took that median sales price there for Kitty Hawk and I broke it down. I run some reports of our reports, assuming a 6% interest rate, a 1% insurance cost, in your tax rate, and calculated what the monthly payment would be. On the annual payments, you'll see those numbers there. So for that median sales price of $679,000, you would need an annual income of $226,000. The adjusted annual income for Kitty Hawk, and this is using that 2022 number from the American Community Survey. I applied a 4% cost of living annually to get this number. So your annual income that I'm estimating is right at $93,000. And so when you have that $93,000, that equates to the buying ability of a home that costs $282,000. So you can see that there's a big gap between those home prices as well as the salary that's required for those home prices. A big gap. We don't focus just on home ownership, so I pulled some monthly rental prices just last week, and you see that there's a variety of different options. The cheapest one is a mobile home in Mans Harbor, a 2-bedroom, 2-bath mobile home for $1,400. Kill Devil Hills, an apartment, 1,000-square apartment, 2-bedroom, 2-bath is $1,775. Mania, a single-family home, $2,400. So we're bouncing all around the $2,000, $2,500 mark there for monthly rentals. Salary information, I just put some salary information in the report. One of the things that we've talked about is that we have to make this housing issue relatable to the community, so we need to try to make the salaries of our public sector and our private sector relatable so that folks know what we're trying to do here and who we're trying to assist here. You'll see I've got the first-year teacher. I pulled some of the salary information that the ladies here at the town hall have provided to me. I've got some public sector, some private sector information in there, and then down at the bottom I have an average weekly wage from the second quarter of 2024 that I pulled from the Chaper web page of $845, which is their average weekly. So I also went through the Kitty Hawk Land Use Plan preparing for my presentation tonight just to see how you guys address housing in your town here. And so the Imagine Kitty Hawk 2050 plan cites housing availability and affordability as a concern. It goes on to say that 64% of the survey respondent, that was a survey that was done in conjunction with that plan, indicated their primary concern was housing availability and affordability for year-round residents, workers, retirees, and families. Goal number 11 states, encourage an adequate supply of affordable and workforce housing to serve the needs of Kitty Hawk residents. And then the policy in the plan is encourage affordable and workforce housing in and around Kitty Hawk. Partner with Dare Communities, nonprofits on projects to add units within or near Kitty Hawk. Consider adjustments in dimensional requirements and density allowances to allow for additional housing types in some zoning districts. Consider increasing allowances for small-scale housing units in some districts, and encourage multifamily housing in commercial districts. So that's from your own plan there. Some of the housing options that we've discussed in the report, accessory dwelling units, you guys allow them here in Kitty Hawk. You just made some revisions this past year to add a long-term occupancy requirement for that. You guys do allow duplexes and some small-scale housing, and that's supported by your policy 3.5. Workforce housing at commercial sites, accessory structures, and second-floor occupancy. So in June of this past year, you just added that commercial accessory unit there that works on the same concept as the ADU in the residential districts. And then the other thing that we found in our research is that an important tool to ensure that year-round tenancy, or that there's a that it's actually being used for our residents are deed restrictions. And so some local governments are doing that. I don't know if Kitty Hawk has a deed restriction or not. I know Kill Devil Hills does, Dare County does, And NAGS had just adopted some multifamily regulations, and they have a year-round residency as well as a workforce occupancy associated with them. I touched briefly on that enabling legislation that has been successful here in Dare County. It's a legislation that was adopted for the Board of Education and nonprofits to provide housing for teachers and local governments. We've got some units there in Kill Devil Hills and Buxton. The report talks about providing a third site on Roanoke Island or the mainland, and so we're thinking that seems to be a good way, a good priority for us and a good area of focus since that legislation is already in place there. I think there's plans underway to maybe build some more units in Kill Devil Hills, but since the legislation contemplates something on Roanoke Island, we're hoping to work with the Board of Education to pursue that. Some of the other tasks that's in the report are further research into the housing for the teachers, investigate the establishment of a nonprofit agency and a perpetual funding source that can be used with the nonprofit, investigate development of housing on government-owned land, and outreach activities to make AMI and housing needs relatable to residents and property owners. And I have worked with OBAR and secured a $3,000 grant from the National Association of Realtors to help with some of those outreach activities. And we are hoping that our participation in the Our State, Our Home program will be beneficial in implementing these other tasks. We are going to have some outreach activities. We are participating with professors from East Carolina who are studying community attitudes on workforce housing. We're going to be doing some community meetings later this month. Actually, we're having one here at Kitty Hawk Town Hall. And some online survey. They'll be doing that. They've done some stakeholder interviews, and we're going around to the local government as a form of outreach, and so we've got a very busy week this week. We assume that there'll be some other outreach ideas that come out of the Our State, Our Home program, and then there'll be other outreach efforts identified by our outreach subcommittee as we proceed along in 2025. And I'm going to stop right there and let Mr. Fearing make a few remarks, and then if you guys have any questions, we'll try to take them at the end.
Good evening. I'm Malcolm Fearing. I'm from Mania. It's good to be here. I think last time I was here, I was dealing with a transportation issue on back road and shoreline protection. I think Ms. Foreman or Amy Foreman was involved in that issue. Some of the members of this town board. I think Donna has me here because of my age. There's a younger perspective, and then I don't know if I'm a old-timer, old fart, or just a good old boy. But anyway, we have been in this issue, Donna and myself. She was 22 years old, and I was 34 years old when this started with us. It's really hard to believe as I'm going to turn 70 in a couple of weeks. A little bit of history. This is an excerpt from a meeting back in '87 of the county, and they went throughout the county and had some public hearings about housing. Dare County, like other resort coastal communities, has a shortage of low and moderate income housing. The need for such housing was identified and strongly affirmed by several members of the Dare County Planning Board. The problem stems in part from the competition for housing between permanent residents and seasonal residents. Seasonal residents and second homeowners often have higher levels of income and disposable income to spend on housing. At the same time, the tourist-driven service economy of Dare County provides the highest number of jobs in the lower pay scales. There is a need to meet the housing needs of the low and moderate income people. That was in 1987. Don and I have been dealing with this issue off and on, as has Duke Garrett, for a long time. The Chamber of Commerce has been involved in it. Some of the towns have taken action. Manio, some 30, 40 years ago, had a low-income housing project called Bay Tree and Harbor Town. One is for the elderly, one is for lower-income people. So this issue has been here a long time. Why are we here now? As you reflect on Donna's report, the price escalation in housing has really gotten beyond many of ours comprehension. Some of us have lived here longer than others. And if we look at our home values today, it's good for us. Because if we were to sell, we're in pretty good shape. But who can we sell to? We really can't sell to our constituents. Population. In 1985, there was a Booz Allen Hamilton study done in Dare County. It showed a population of approximately 17,000 people in the entire county. Today, there's a population of approximately 38,233 people. That's a 21,000 population increase. That's 530 a year on average, or 44 people a month moving in to Dare County. The incorporated municipalities have approximately 19,422 residents combined, all the incorporated municipalities, where the unincorporated areas of the county has about 18,000. So it's fairly evenly split in disbursement of the population. I want to go back to cost burden and talk about that a little bit. As Ms. Cree's slide indicated, 31% of our population is cost burden. Okay, that includes home ownership, but also that 31% is rentals. In the municipality, that number equates to about 6,000 people that are cost burden. In the county, about 5,800 people are cost burden. In the town of Kitty Hawk, by illustration, you have about 3,700 people in your town, your second largest municipality by population in the county. 31% of that population would be 1,151 people. Cost burden, what does that mean? In Donna's slide, she talked about incomes. There was a slide that showed various incomes. A high of $52,000 and a low of $37,000. For tonight's conversation, I'm going to use an average of 50 because I can deal with that math much easier than I can the others. That equals about $3,300 a month take home. Now the Chamber of Commerce said their average pay for the county is somewhere around $800 and some dollars, which is around $3,200, $3,300. I see you doing the math real quick. So if you take that and you take rent, $2,000. I'm going to use $2,000 number because I can deal with that. I'm going to use a mortgage payment of $2,000. That leaves $1,300 left over out of a $50,000 salary, and that's one of the highest in that scale that we talked about. Out of that, there are basic needs that have to be taken out of that $1,300. There's food, there's automobile expense, whether it's insurance, car payment, tires. A big one is health insurance. That could be $800 or $1,000 a month for an individual. Cable TV, daycare, and student debt. Our first house payment was $170-some a month. My wife told me my cable bill was more than that, along with the internet today. We are going to grow in the county. There are some people who say, well, we need to stop the growth. I don't know if that's going to happen. In a $2 billion economy, a growing economy, how do we stop the growth? Should we manage the growth 100%? And I think all of us, whether it's in the individual municipalities or within the county, we're trying to manage that growth. I have a granddaughter that's in first grade. I have 7 grandchildren. By the time she finishes, that class finishes their school in 12 years, like their grandmother. This county would have spent state, federal, local dollars over $900 million on their education. There's never been a question about our community support for our youth. Never been that question from the county, Board of Education, to our local municipal communities. But the question is, based on those figures that we have shown you, is there a future for them? Is there a future to come back and participate in this place we all call home? The same opportunity that each one of us had. Because the numbers we're showing are today's number. What will they be like on the scale that was shown over the last few years, increase in pricing? What will it be like in 10 years? The solution to this issue is community-based. And that solution is different in every community that we'll be speaking and addressing. It will be different in Kitty Hawk, it will be different in Mania, it will be different in Southern Shores, it will be different on Hatteras Island, in mainland of our county. But it has to be community-driven. And that's the approach we're taking now in the advocacy and the outreach that we're doing now, is we're trying to give information to the community, but we would also like to receive information from the community. We are not, and will not, I don't believe, advocate, based on the conversations we've had on our task force, advocate any change to any community. That is not what we'll do. But what we hope we'll do is bring tools in the toolbox that will help each community, while they recognize this issue, help give them some solutions to this issue. So thank you very much. If you have questions, Mr. Creek, we'll be glad to answer all of them.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
I guess everyone can see why Donna Creek was chosen as our chairperson and Malcolm was our vice chair. Mr. Garrett is deeply involved. And I can tell you, Donna, this committee would not be where it is today without you. You have done an excellent job. Thank you. And with that being said, Councilor, any questions for Ms. Creek?
I'd like to make a couple comments.
Mr. Garrett, I didn't mean to leave you out. You were very active too, so thank you.
You know, I totally agree with you on Donna and Mr. Ferranier. In fact, we've talked, I think, last year about some mainland housing things. You and I have had personal conversations with that. There's not two better people to run the show. I totally agree. I know this may not be welcome. We talk about density and this, that, and the other, but Donna, correct me if I'm wrong, a few years ago on the county, did we not do something where if you want to have an Airbnb, didn't we increase lot coverage so that you could have another one, but it had to be year round?
The county increased the lot coverage for their ADUs, but their ADUs has a tenancy requirement.
Right.
It has to be long-term occupancy, and I think I forget what that number is, but it's associated with the ADU, not necessarily the Airbnb.
Right.
Because it's a long-term occupancy.
Right, but I think one of them was kind of whatever it wanted to be, and then the other one had to be, because we discussed how are we going to like police or manage that, and I'm just throwing it out there. That may be where we may be heading in some directions. Managing development is a perfect way to say it. I think we all agree on managing what we're doing, but we can't just keep saying you can't build anything in Dare County.
Well, what we've seen is that it's the deed restrictions and that workforce requirement. I think out in Colorado, Summit County out in Colorado, you have to work 30 hours a week there. You have to present an annual verification if you're in their housing program, if you will. That, the language that the town annex had adopted, I don't think they've had anybody apply yet, and they recognize that it's going to be difficult to enforce, but at least they're willing to try, and the way that it is all of the units have to be occupied on a long-term basis, and I forget what that period is. I want to say it's 90 days, but 60% of them have to be dedicated to workforce. You have to live there. You have to live in Dare County, but you also have to work there 60 of them. And so they figured out some formula, and they spent a lot of time talking about that. But you know, at least they're recognizing that, because what we've seen in our research throughout North Carolina and the rest of the country is that it's that small scale housing that works instead of the large scale projects. The teacher housing there in Kill Devil Hills, it's back there where there's other multifamily. I talked to the planning director today about that there in Kill Devil Hills, and it's like, was there any opposition? And he was like, no. It's fully integrated. And that was what, part of the conversation this morning in front of the county was, is that for this to be successful, it has to be the right place. It has to be the right recipe, if you will, for it to work there.
I think that one is the poster child for what all the others have tried to be. And everybody wants to keep saying, oh, they don't want to see it here, they don't want to see it there. Well, we have to see it somewhere there. There is not going to be an Outer Banks in 30 years, as we know it today. So I appreciate you guys' hard work, and there's not anybody better to be running the show. I totally agree. So I thank you for all your hard work on that, because I know you guys have, first of all, I know how you both work, so you put a lot of time into it. But
we're just the people standing up here, presenting the report. It's a group effort.
I understand.
The task force is 28 people, so it's a large group, but then we have our subcommittees, and that's really where the worker bees do their work.
Well, I appreciate everybody working on it, but I don't know the answers to the solutions. I feel like every time we try to do something, 400 people want to show up at the county level or municipality level and say, I don't want to see that here. Well,
It's a real challenge.
where are you going to shop in 25 years because nobody's going to have anywhere to live? So I appreciate everybody's hard work on it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Can I see any questions or comments from Ms. Grief and Mr. Fury?
You did a nice
Thank you so
job.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great job. Thank you so much. Public comment. Lawrence, anyone signed up for public comment? Please?
Yes, sir, she has.
Come on up, Vice Chair House.
Thank you. Members of the council and also town staff, thank you so much for your service. I know what dedication it takes to sit in those seats and to manage the town. I come before you not as the Vice Chair of the County Commissioners, I come before you today as the President of the Outer Banks Jeep Charities Group. And it's that time again for the year we start planning for the Outer Banks Jeep Invasion. And I'll give you just a little bit of background. In the last 4 years, we have been able to raise enough money and donate to local charities over $125,000. And a big part of that is due to your help. And what I'm here asking again is if we could do another Jeep ride on September 19th and September 20th, obviously with the police department, fire department doing the escort, and also again being able to donate back to the town as well as we've done in the past. And I would just like to have your blessing to do that.
Can we all?
I'm good with it.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
good.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'm real good.
Start at the other end of the beach this time.
Can we do that?
Yeah, we're gonna try to do it from one end to the other. We tried to do that last year.
It
Unfortunately,
was-
Mother Nature
the
kind of
weather
didn't
was
help
bad.
us. But that's what our plan is for this year, and hopefully we can do that.
Perfect.
Thanks, sir.
So
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
we don't need a motion. That's consensus is good, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Anyone else signed up for public comment? Anyone like to speak at public comment tonight about any topic? Would anyone like to speak? Lauren, let the record show no one else chose to speak at public comment. Consent agenda. Council, I need a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda, please.
Mr. Mayor, so moved.
Motion made by Jeff, second.
Second.
Second made by David. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. Very good. Item 7, we had no items removed from the consent agenda. Item 8A, council, we need to set a public hearing for the readoption of our Campbell Land Use Plan. Someone can make that motion, please.
Mr. Mayor, I move to set a public hearing at the town council meeting on March the 3rd, 2025 to consider adoption of the revised Kitty Hawk Campbell use land.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Jeff. Second by David. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Thank you. Item 8B, we have a subdivision review. Rob, you come up, please, sir. Some of us have seen this before.
Several times.
All right, I'll just briefly kind of go through some of the, I'm not going to go through line by line, but some of the, I guess the highlights of this one, then if you have any questions, we can go over it. So this proposal is an application for subdivision plat for 2.42 acre parcel located at 740 West Kitty Hawk Road. The proposal divides one existing parcel into 3 separate lots. No new public or private road is proposed. There would be a 15-foot wide access easement planned, which would be maintained and repaired by the property owner. A previous proposal had been submitted and approved unanimously back in 2021 for this property. That one divided the lot into the existing parcel into 4 lots. However, the owner at the time, they never acted on getting the plat recorded, so the approval expired. In the time since then, our language has changed with minimum lot size, dealing with the 15,000 square foot of contiguous uplands. As a result, the new proposal has come back with 3 lots instead of the 4 that were approved previously. Really, the only thing I wanted to touch on, the lot width. Minimum lot width in this district is 75 feet, measured at the front building setback, with a minimum lot width of at least 50 foot, or a minimum road frontage of at least 50 foot. And as you can see on the plat, each proposed lot meets this requirement. The lots 2 and 3, it's kind of tough to make out up here, have the 50 feet of road frontage and then kind of curve around and widen out on the backside. Back in 2021, when this proposal first came to us, the issue of flag lots had been discussed with the town attorney and with the council at the time. And it was determined that even though the configuration, with the configuration of the lots, that it did not meet the definition of flag lot, which in our ordinance is defined as a lot which has narrow frontage on the street and a thin strip of land which provides access from the street right of way to the wider portion of the lot. What we determined, what council voted on in 2021 was that because it met that 50-foot road frontage and maintained the 50 feet all the way back until it opened out further, that it was compliant with the ordinance. That was really the only kind of quirky part of this one, so I just wanted to go over that part with you. If you have any questions for me, the engineer for the applicant is on hand as well. If you want to say anything, we'll be on hand for questions.
Council, any questions for Rob or Mr. Gomez? Any questions at all?
One question, Rob. The existing shed, 30 by 10.3, that's to be removed.
Yes.
What kind of confirmation can the town get, make sure that's removed prior to finalizing?
So if council approves this, the applicant will have to submit a copy that will be recorded and get the signatures on it. And before we would record that, I would go out and field verify it.
Got it, okay.
Forgive me for being off base, I am. Why is this not staff approved?
Because the parent parcel is greater than 2 acres. If we don't have our ordinance set up to where, if it fell as an exempt subdivision, I could do it administratively. Our ordinance is not set up to allow for any staff approval of subdivisions that don't fall into those exemptions. This is one thing that we've discussed about bringing forward some revisions to the subdivision ordinance.
We need to look at that.
We do need to look at that. That's my only comment. Thank you.
I will end Charlotte. Jeff? Questions or comments? Discussion? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the preliminary/final plat for 740 West Kitty Hawk Road as shown and submitted on the plat.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Charlotte. Second by David. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Thank you. We have no new business, no old business. Time manager, Melody.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to provide a big thank you to our Public Works Department and our Public Safety Departments for keeping the town going while we had some administrative snow days. We came back to our sidewalks and our parking lots all ready to go, and they worked very hard to make that happen. A police building update. A concrete mow curb has been installed around the building, and the curbing for the parking lot is staked. The team is currently working on metal sections of the roof from left to right and expects to complete this work within the next week or so. Once the roof is finished, they'll begin installing the parking lot curbing. Soffit lights have been installed, and the siding crew is back on this week to finish closing in the soffits. We anticipate that the store type front door will arrive by mid-February, and they'll complete the siding at that point once they have the door and make sure that the trim fits and everything. The plumbing and electrical work for the exterior walls has been completed and has passed inspection. They hope to be out of the interior walls by next week and have them inspected, and soon they will begin putting insulation in. We have recently been informed by our current audit firm of Johnson, Mazzell, Straub, and Consalvo that they are no longer going to do annual audits for government entities. It is a very cumbersome process, ever-changing, has lots of requirements and regulations. So we have found that a lot of our local companies are kind of bowing out of this. As a result, we've released an RFP today for a new audit firm for our fiscal year 25 audit. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Melody. Casey?
Mayor, I have nothing. Thank you. Good to see you guys.
Good to see you. Town Council, I'd like to start off, Council. I had the honor yesterday of attending a service of Miss Doris Pruitt, a longtime friend of this town. She's not only Jeff's mother, she's a longtime employee of this town, the town of Kitty Hawk. Jeff, I'd like to personally thank you for sharing your mother with the town.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great lady.
She was in on the very ground floor, wasn't she?
Sure was.
She
was.
started in
Both of your parents were.
84, and she, I think, retired in 96. She was 73 when she retired.
She's a tax collector too.
Oh, the story she could tell.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, both of his parents were very instrumental in this town and making it happen, so. Yes, I am the liaison for the Recreation Committee, and I am so proud of the work that they're doing. They're working on this trail, they've got the markers, they're one step away from the Dominion easement to be able to put the trail there. And I don't know how many people know this, but the town keeps a record of people that want to volunteer in this town. And when I go to that list, I call them, I sit down and I talk to them, and I know what talents they bring, and that committee is on fire. They are doing awesome. So Not just that, but they're keeping the master plan updated. They're just doing an amazing job. So they are very high on my list. So I appreciate all the work they do. So thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Jeff?
Yeah, it was a pretty long week. But I'd like to thank this entire Outer Banks community. The support that they showed for my family was very humbling. I'd also like to thank my fellow council members for your support, staff, police department, fire department, other municipalities for reaching out to my family. Meant a lot. And as my son said, what a great community we live in. That's all I have.
Thank you, Jeff. Dylan?
Just to repeat, lots of thoughts about Ms. Doris and thoughts to your family, Jeff. And that's all I have tonight.
Yeah. David?
That's sometimes the bad thing of going last. There's nothing else to say, but I kind of echo your opening remarks. Jeff, you know, you and I had our conversation, so.
Thank you for your support.
And Donna and Mr. Farring, I appreciate you guys, and of course, everybody on the committee in the presentation, and I look forward to seeing where it goes. I mean, it's a real problem, and we really need to get in front of it somehow, so thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you, David. Any further discussion, council? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Motion by David, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.